there, I'm author Sarah A. Chrisman.
And I'm Gabriel Chrisman.
And today we are going to talk about the history of eyewear. So the history of eyewear goes back a very, very long time. In fact, the ancient Roman historian Pliny described the Emperor Nero watching gladiator contests through an emerald, which is about as high class as you can get. And for a lot of history, what we would call glasses were actually made out of stone. So there was the famous Nero's emerald, but rock crystal was actually the material of choice for a very long time.
It was, as you might imagine, more durable.
It was much more durable, and that's what medieval craftsmen would use for the eyewear that they made for the clerics, for their reading lenses. And even as late as the 19th century, if you have read A Bumpy Road to Marriage, where Ethel is getting new spectacles, the optometrist asks her if she wants glass or rock crystal, and she says rock crystal as long as it's cut right, because that was the thing, that rock crystal had to be cut just right by someone who knew what they were doing, or it would be, as the texts of the time described, worse than useless for seeing out of. It had to be cut just so, and that's why glass, when glass became available in the optics that were necessary for eyewear, glass became much cheaper.
And it was a more controllable synthetic material that it wasn't reliant on the jeweler understanding the nature of the stone and its grain and the whole deal. It was something that was much easier to work.
Right, and that's the thing, is for most of human history, it was actually jewelers or the jewelry guild that was making the eyewear, and it wasn't until much later that optometry became part of the medical field. That started in the Enlightenment and really got codified in the Victorian era. But let's talk a little bit about 19th century eyewear.
Yes. And so glasses are one of those things that if you're looking for antique glasses, they are out there. They are available. But most of the ones that have survived are unfortunately very fragile in terms of their condition. For many years, I wore exclusively antique frames and tried to find optometrists who would make lenses for them. But the frames are challenging to wear. Often the sizes operate very differently, and of course finding exactly the right size for you is difficult if you're just able to search antique stores and places like that. And the fragility of these frames after 120, 130, 140 years is also a challenge. When I was wearing antique frames, I had them break numerous times. Most, even jewelers, wouldn't be able to repair them. The problem is that a lot of those frames were coated. They were either plated or through various other processes, they were in some way protected so that the raw metal wouldn't affect your skin or cause problems. And if you tried to repair it, the coating was always disrupted. And then you got problems where your skin reacted to the metal or vice versa. You would rust the glasses and it would cause problems there. Even the gold ones you were able to find, the problem often was that they were very fragile. I had the gold ones break on me several times.
And you had a few pair where they were gold plated, but the gold had worn off on the places where it really mattered. And these are steel, and these are actually sunglasses. Sunglasses were a thing, as you heard, all the way back to the ancient Roman Emperor Nero. Sunglasses actually predate glasses that help you see better.
Especially with colored lenses.
Especially with colored lenses. And the earliest glasses were actually not glasses at all. They were eye shields that had little slits in them so you could see across a snowy field, and the Inuit had some of those. But anyhow, don't want to get too far off topic. By the 1890s, colored glasses were very popular. L. Frank Baum had seen these, and they gave him the idea for the Emerald City and the Wizard of Oz. And actually, if you read the original version, it turns out that the Emerald City is not actually made of emeralds. They're just wearing green spectacles that make the White City look green. And these are blue. When I first wore these steel-rimmed spectacles from the 1890s, the first time I wore them, Gabriel looked at me and said, "Your nose is bleeding," because I had so much oxidation rub off on my nose from the steel, and that red oxidation looked like blood. And it was not very great for my skin.
No. This pair is one of the pairs that I've repaired the most times, and this one actually is also made of steel, but it was electroplated with some sort of material that at least kept it non-reactive for a while. But at one point it broke right here at the nose piece, and I was able to very carefully, using my bicycle brazing equipment, braze it back together with silver. But it took off just enough of the coating in this area here that now when I wear it, it basically causes my nose to react with it, and it's not very comfortable or very good for anything.
And you had another pair that rubbed the back of your ears so raw it looked like an open abscess, which is not nice.
That was mostly because, again, it's difficult to find the right sizes. And if with these ones with the riding temples that are designed to hook around your ears, if you don't get exactly the right length, then it pulls too tight, and that's when it cuts in and causes problems.
Right. Now, again, back when these were new, they wouldn't have had those issues because they hadn't worn out. So
and they would have had all the sizes available to fit every person.
They would have had all the sizes available. So please, please, please do not get the idea that in the 19th century everyone was suffering through all of these things that we're describing, because this is the difference between something that is substantially old, that is 140 years old at this point, or versus something new. Now, when these were new, they were perfect. When they were new, they were very wearable, very comfortable. It's just that they're very old by this point. And when I'm 140 years old, I won't be in great shape either.
Also, at the time, if someone broke a pair of glasses, they wouldn't have tried to repair it using bicycle brazing equipment. They would have simply gone and bought a new piece because the pieces were available.
Right, and if you've read A Bumpy Road to Marriage, you remember Ethel's trip to the optometrist, which is a fun scene in that, and she actually gets to look through a special piece of equipment that they had for judging the measurements that she needed and the lenses she needed.
Right, and actually then they had, a whole case full of different stays to fit every person's face, and they would be able to change those out even on the same set of frames for the lenses, again, to be able to fit everyone. This is more than modern optometrists do, where they just have you try on different ones until they find one that fits. They don't customize them as much as they used to.
Right, and it wasn't just the feel, it was also the look, because different glasses look better with different face shapes.
Correct.
When I wear perfectly round glasses, I look like a manga character. I recently had to get my first pair of glasses. I think the wake-up moment for me was when I pointed at an animal across the street and said something about the deer, and Gabriel said, "That's a turkey." Yes. So, there was also eyewear that was not necessarily for improving vision, but just for protecting the eyes. And that's what I've got here. These are mica eye shields. And these are, mica is a type of stone, in this case very, very thin, so thin you can see through it. And these are safety goggles from the 1890s, so these were actually for protecting the eyes. And
they were very popular with cyclists.
Right, right.
Now, if you look at the shape of those lenses and you look at modern cycling glasses, you'll actually see that not much has changed. You'll also see that the wool pads around the sides are perforated for ventilation, of course. So, again, there's been sort of sports glasses and sports eyewear have been something very consistently in development since the 1890s.
And something that was also popular in the 19th century and these did improve vision, were these little opera glasses. And again, these pop up in the Tales of Chetzemoka. Ethel has a pair that Addie winds up with. These were not just for watching plays. Also, if you went to a museum, in a museum, a lot of the time, because they're using all the wall space they can, the pictures are all the way up to the ceiling, and so you can't get a good look at the ones at the ceiling, and so these were for getting a better view of the pictures that were up that high. Which is pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So, eyewear.
Eyewear. It's for everyone. Well, hopefully. And again, these were something that were in the 19th century, and by that point, they were worn not just for correction, but for style. They were worn to protect the eyes. They were worn for just about every reason you can imagine, and just about every reason that people wear eyewear now.
Right.
So this is something where this is a very familiar world. It's just that trying to repair vintage eyewear is a whole entirely separate thing compared to just the way it was in the Victorian era.
Right, and just back to sunglasses very briefly, there were different colors for different purposes. The blue and the green ones were very general. Those were just sunglasses for the same reasons people would wear sunglasses today. Some of the other colors were worn for various medical reasons.
Mm-hmm.
If you get into vintage sunglasses, I would recommend avoiding the yellow ones, because yellow sunglasses were worn by people with syphilis, and that was sort of a marker. They were worn because people with syphilis tend to get very weak eyes, and so the yellow was thought to help alleviate the strain, but it was also sort of that guy.
Yes, and yellow lenses are worn in some modern sports conditions
It's true.
because it does increase contrast, and so that's why it reduced eye strain.
It's true.
Right.
It's true.
But it is something that is, it was a prescription for colored glasses, a pair of colored glasses in the late 19th century.
Right, right. But again, blue and green were totally normal. Green was especially popular for people who just needed some shade on their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
If their eyes were strained from overstudying. And again, Ethel winds up with a green pair while she's waiting for her new pair to get fixed, or to get made for her.
The truly dark smoked lenses were generally preserved for cases when people needed real eye protection for viewing eclipses or anything like that. And so they weren't worn on a general daily basis because they were considered too dark.
Right, right. And then there were the goggles that were used for people in situations where they really needed to protect their eyes, like early motoring, like
people who are operating machine tools.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, there's lots of different eyewear for lots of different reasons, and it's all pretty stylish.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a nice thumbs up, and remember to tell your friends about my books. Happy reading!